SciFi Cat the Fabulous made it. Sorry to be tardy to the party, but SciFi Cat had a lot of senatorial inaugural dinners to attend this season. As you can tell from my preamble, I finally finished Andor Season 2. I have multiple thoughts on the season, but I'll try to be as succinct yet in-depth as possible. To address the peanut gallery, no, I don't think the lack of lightsabers took away from that Star Wars feeling. Yes, I'm glad the Force was mentioned here and there without proselytizing it. And yes, Benjamin Bratt wins Substitute Actor of the Year for his portrayal of Jimmy Smits as Bail Organa. Let's give him a round of applause. Oh yeah! Now, like your average cat, I didn't do my homework the night before, so after a 2-year gap between seasons, I was reconnecting the multi-layered story threads and wondering who the hell some of the ancillary characters were. Who are you again? And who are you? Oh. Yeah, one of yous is gonna die. This was an initial setback in getting me to invest in the second season. Moreover, Andor operates on the slow burn storytelling. So not only am I trying to figure out what's going on and who is who, I'm processing new information at the same time. Not helping was the show being condensed to 2 seasons instead of the initial run prediction of 5. The writing sacrifices significant character background development or even reintroduction of characters for the sake of moving the plot towards the conclusion. A few thoughts on the premise of Andor. I was always concerned that writer and director Tony Gilroy had trapped himself in a box. We know how Andor's story ends on Scarif in Rogue One. So how do they build a prequel where very few, if any, characters will cross over into the feature film? This made it difficult to emotionally invest in characters the viewer knows will disappear before Rogue One's opening shot. On the other paw, I was quite impressed with the deft weaving of Andor's backstory from mercenary and survival mode to dedicated revolutionary working to throw off the Imperial yoke. Most ingenious was how they tied the story of the Death Star plans in the final 2 episodes via their man on the inside, Lonnie Young. Rest in peace. A few hot takes about general world building in this series. I loved the different representations of rebellion movements. You had the French Resistance in De Gaulle, the grassroots of the American Revolution in the nascent rebellion, the pure revolutionary of Luthen emulating Lenin, though not quite to the same political ends. What were Luthen's political ends?
I yearned to be a savior against injustice without contemplating the cost, and by the time I looked down, there was no longer any ground beneath my feet. What is my sacrifice?
The show never dives into his hopes for what comes next. Maybe because he never expected to see it himself? What do you think? Meow at me in the comments. And the radical, violent, anarchic methods of Saw Gerrera, loosely based on Che Guevara, try saying that 10 times fast, though historically they are much different in character, though equally violent.
That itch, that burn. You feel how badly she wants to explode? You think I'm crazy? Yes, I am.
And then the political face hiding it all in legitimacy, Mon Mothma. Mwah! Well done, Gilroy. Back to my earlier comment, and in sync with world building, let's talk about the Star Wars feeling. Did it exist in Andor? Absolutely. The Star Wars feeling of Andor, the elements that made the show capture that essence, however, had nothing to do with Jedi, lightsabers, or too much mentioning of the Force. In fact, it was the exact opposite. It was the Empire. Their ubiquitous presence and their atypical white ISB uniforms set the Star Wars tone. Their on-screen appearance represented a strong visual reminder to viewers that this is the galaxy ruled by Palpatine, The same Empire Luke, Han, Leia, and the Rebel Alliance ultimately brought to its knees in the original series.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
You know, the good one. This was a refreshing reversal of the status quo. The bad guys reminding us of the universe in which the story operates instead of the heroes. I liked it. Now, back to this season specifically. 2 arcs stuck out to me as worthy of further analysis. Arc 1, Storm and Gorman. Playing agent provocateurs, the Empire permit and facilitate native Gore rebellion when they start building an armory on the planet. This is all a ruse to get fluoridated whatever, a highly valuable mineral needed for energy production out of the ground, thus destroying the planet. They seed the galactic populace with negative propaganda against the Gore and just bide their time for the Gore to do a rebellious act heinous enough for the Empire to act in conjunction with manufactured public consent to lock down Gorman. Meanwhile, Luthen, ever the accelerationist, sees this as an opportunity to foster an uprising on a wealthy inner planet world.
Gorman in play? A new front line against the Empire?
For him and the nascent rebellion, what a message that will send for other worlds to likewise rise. Both believe they have prepared the ground. Both believe they have the edge. As we learn, though, that's not entirely the case. When Cassian warns Luthen,
The more trouble they make, the worse it will be.
he merely responds that Gorman will burn very brightly for the cause.
It will burn. Very brightly.
I propose Luthen made an error in judgment in his course of action. He should have encouraged the Gore to peacefully protest. Thus forcing the Empire to do their own dirty work and entirely fabricate the uprising themselves. In this way, when Gorman ultimately does burn from the Empire's efforts to get at the mineral, the heavy, heavy hand of the Empire would be laid bare for all the galaxy to see. Would that not be a more powerful incitement for other worlds to rebel than an already hostile populace getting what the Empire perceives as its just deserts? Arguably, this is not Luthen's style, but he has made concessions in other parts of the season. He solved Bix's problem, albeit it eliminated a dangerous target in tandem, and letting Vel and Cinta work together despite his misgivings. So some flexibility does exist in Luthen's character. I'll go so far to say that he realized his mistake when Lonnie unveiled the Death Star plans, and his face fell ever so slightly when he mentioned the role Gorman played in the tangled clandestine plot.
The rebellion on Gorman was a front from the start, a cover to strip mine the planet for some mineral that they need. The crackdowns, the public order, the labor camps, Scarif.
Fronting for what?
A weapon.
My second and more problematic arc was with Bix. Attention, fellow senators and viewers. Bix! F*** you! No, really. F*** you! First, I had to remember what the hell happened to her in Season 1 to make her so fragile. Then the sexual assault. Don't get me wrong, score 1 for her for bludgeoning the guy to death, and the rest of my commentary in no way reflects those despicable actions. Next, for too many episodes, she was this wounded bird with her wings clipped, unable to fly into action, taking sedatives to ward off nightmares of the torture from Season 1. Then, without any real explanation, blowing up the laboratory and torturing the doctor makes everything right as rain. I don't recall Bix having a vindictive streak, and I'm not familiar with therapy for torture survivors, so if you have any insights, give me a holler. My watching the laboratory go up in flames, while satisfying in its own right that no one would be tortured like that again, didn't quite ring true as a complete wipe the slate clean mental salve for Bix. She simply didn't have enough background to justify such a resolution. Then we're on Yavin. And I'm sorry, Bix and Andor have no chemistry. I don't believe them to be more than close friends, let alone intimates. I have a hard time believing she cares for Andor as much as Andor is dedicated to her. And then she abandons him. Some may see this as strong and brave and self-sacrificing. However, I found it very presumptuous. She took the decision of whether to stay in the rebellion or not completely out of Andor's hands.
So I'm choosing for the both of us. I'm choosing the rebellion.
Who's to say he would not have come to the right decision to stay with the rebellion on his own? Removing the freedom of choice. Isn't that something the rebellion is fighting against? Anyway, if they were a true couple, wouldn't they work it out? Compromise? And she's a rebel too, after all. What about her dedication to the cause and Luthen? Bix didn't even say I love you at the end of her transmission. And that final scene. Couldn't she have at least told him he was going to be a father? He has a right to know. Now he dies, never knowing. I find that selfish. And where does she go to be safe? This one really gets me. The place she had to be evacuated from for being an illegal by Andor. Completely illogical. It's probably the biggest misstep in the whole show. I'm secretly hoping it comes out at some point that this was a reshoot because Gilroy's original envisioning was just unacceptable. I don't know. Instead of inspiring hope, it ultimately made me question Bix's motives. Bix Vixen, I name you. Now, if we want to talk about a sturdy female character, let's shift to Clea. Had the Force Healer laid hands on her, I have no doubt she would have come to similar conclusions as she did with Andor. The same clarity. They are both collectors of the things they've seen, experienced, loved, lost, decisions they've made. And hey, she was a messenger too in more than one way.
Galen Urso. Super weapon based in Scarif, fuel from Gorman, Kyber from Jeddah, ISB Krennic, Galen Urso.
And you know where to go.
Plus, her unfailing loyalty to Luthen, up to the point of taking his life to protect the cause he fought so hard for, was one of the most poignant scenes in the whole series. Her savior, her surrogate father, her mentor, her friend, still, Clea found the strength to do what she knew Luthen would have wanted her to do. And though initially she felt alone on Yavin, as Vel reminded her, she has friends everywhere. I know I'm her friend, but now it's time to wrap Andor up. But hey, did anyone else notice in the opening credits the open O in Andor? I always interpreted that as Andor being the missing piece in the rebellion. What are your thoughts? Did Luthen lose a gamble? Am I misreading Bix? Should Clea and Andor have hooked up instead? What galaxy will Benjamin Bratt pop up in next? Shout out at me in the comments, and while you're there, hammer down the subscribe button if you like what I'm meowing about, and ding the ding dong to receive updates about new videos. In the meantime, I have some authoritarian regimes to smite with my mighty paw. Oh, shut up, Squeaky Mouse, your days are numbered.
I assume any doubts about my value have been erased.
You can speed up now.
You're welcome.